reportedly from Sweden, and in today's video we are going to find out how the new fever case was glitched, why it was glitched, how Valve fixed it, and what this means for the people who open the skins and for the future prices of the fever case skins. But before that, I want to thank today's video sponsor, which is SkinPlace. SkinPlace is a CS2 marketplace where you can instantly sell your CS2 skins safely for real money. The process is very simple. All you have to do is first log in, then you select the skins you want to sell, you choose your payment method, you add your wallet address, you of course add code anomaly to get paid an extra 3% on your first sale, yes sir, and finally you press receive money. And then you're done. It's that easy. So thank you SkinPlace for sponsoring this video, and if you want to try them out, then please do so from the link in the description. And now let's get on with the video. Now, I'm not gonna lie, as soon as the fever case was released, I knew there was something wrong. Immediately on my timeline, I just saw a lot of tweets of people opening sapphires and rubies and black pearl, and mind you, I'm an OG. I've seen the release of Chroma case, Prisma case, Spectrum case, every case that has the Dopplers or the Emeralds or whatever. You don't open them that often in the beginning. Yeah, sure, you might see one or two unboxed, but it's really rare. That's why they're always so expensive in the beginning. But with the fever case, right off the bat, literally hundreds of people were unboxing gems, and that's something wrong. I was talking about this on my live stream, I mentioned it in my other video, and people just didn't really believe it. But I was proven right because Valve actually admitted there was a glitch. Here's the update post that CS2 tweeted, banana for scale, and a link to the update. Hobshi, the fucking snitch, he said, "We appreciate the update, but I think you made a mistake with the knives. The odds to get ruby or sapphire seems way too high in comparison to other Doppler finishes." CS2 then literally answered Hobshi's tweet and said, "You're right, when we released the fever case, there was a bug with the frequency at which different paint finishes were applied to knives. This has since been fixed." Now this is kind of a weird language to use. This is very like technical. What does this mean? Well, basically what they're saying is there was a glitch. The gems, so black pearl, ruby, sapphire, and also the Dopplers in general were dropped way more often than they should, and I have proof of that. But first, it's so weird that they even respond to Hobshi's tweet. Usually, if there's some glitch or so, they just patch it and mention it in the patch notes. Here, they just mentioned it in a Twitter reply and didn't patch note it or anything. So if you're not a Twitter guy, you would never have known that there was a glitch with this case, which is very weird. Also, it seems weird that they would change the case odds after it was released. Like, they could just tweak the odds of the CS casino. That's kind of weird. They usually very seldom admit that they're wrong. I mean, the Chroma case is still glitched to this day, and it was released in 2015, so 10 years later, Chroma case, gems, and Doppler, just like with the fever case, are still glitched. This was never patched. And I'll explain how the Chroma case is glitched as well. But first, let's take a look at the actual drop rates of knives from the fever case. Now here's the actual spreadsheet that I've made of every single fever knife case drop since the beginning, but not until after they patched it. So only for the glitched period, because as soon as they patched this, I started writing down all of these numbers of the already unboxed knives to get the stats. So you can see, Skeleton Tiger Tooth, there were 20 unboxed in the glitched period, Skeleton Rust Coat 23, Skeleton Marble 26, judging by these numbers, yeah, Doppler overall should have like 20 to 30. Nope, not even close. Skeleton Doppler, 209 Dopplers unboxed. What the fuck? That's like 10 times the drop rate of any other skin. And broken down individually, you can see here, Doppler phase 1 is 28, phase 2 29, phase 3 is 40, phase 4 22, Ruby 30, Sapphire 33, Black Pearl 27. So quite literally, the chance of getting a rust coat is about the same as the chance of getting a black pearl. What? Now I wrote down the amount of unboxed skins for every knife, and let's see some fun statistics of this. So in total, there was 102 Tiger Tooth, 92 Rust Coat, 105 Marble Fades, 90 Damascus Steel, 81 Ultraviolet, and 743 Dopplers. What the fuck? Now, as you all probably already know, the drop chance of all of these skins should be divided equally. That's not the case. For some reason, in the Fever case, the Tiger Tooth, Rust Coat, Marble, Damascus, and Ultraviolet all had a single-digit drop percent of between 6 to 8%. Meanwhile, the chance of unboxing a Doppler, 61.25%. This means that out of 100 Fever knives unboxed, 61 of them were Dopplers. But that's not even the crazy part. Here's all of the Doppler faces and the intended overall drop chance, meaning that if you open a knife, you would have a 0.33% chance of a black pearl. And this also means that if you open a knife and it happens to be a Doppler, the chance of it being a black pearl should be 2%. Same goes for the ruby and sapphire. It's a 1.5% chance, but if you get a Doppler, it's a 9% chance. These are what the numbers should be. These are the numbers for the Prisma case, the Spectrum case. It's very simple. But for the Fever case, the odds look like this. Doppler phase 1, 2, 3, and 4 were not all a 20% chance if you got a Doppler. No, they were much lower, in the like mid 10% chances, strangely enough. And the overall chance of a Doppler phase 1 through 4 should have been 3.3% each, but for the Fever case, it was like between 6 to 9%. Really insane. The chance of a ruby and sapphire should be 9%, like I said, but it was actually near 17% chance. And overall for the case, 10%. And then finally, the black pearl, which should have a 2% chance if you get a Doppler, but overall from the case, 0.3%. It was actually a 16% chance if you got a Doppler, and also a 10% chance just from the case. This means to get a ruby, sapphire, or black pearl, overall from the case, you had a 1 in 3 chance of getting it. Meaning, literally, 1 out of every 3 knives unboxed from the Fever case was a gem. Now I'm so sad I didn't get a knife from my opening. So in total, of the non-Doppler skins, there were 470 knives dropped. Meanwhile, only ruby, sapphire, and black pearl had a combined drop of 368. Meaning, the amount of knives not Dopplers is almost the same amount as the amount of gems. Not just Dopplers, gems. In total, there were around 178,000 Fever cases opened within this glitched period. And I also noticed something strange. Everyone knows the chance of getting a knife should be 0.25% or 1 in 390. But actually, it ended up being 0.68% chance, 1 in 146. This one, take it with a grain of salt because it could be incorrect. I just think this difference is very big. But yeah, Valve didn't admit to knives being dropped more frequently. They just admitted to the patterns on those knives being applied weirdly. So this is probably me being tinfoil hat. Now, like I said, this drop rate glitch was fixed a couple days after release, and people are not really happy with it. This is from the CS2 Reddit. The official CS2 account on X, on Twitter, please, confirms that there was a bug in the new Fever case, which meant people were unboxing more ruby, black pearl, sapphires than was intended. Also, like you saw, way more Dopplers in general. Now, people are very mad at Mr. Hobshi. This is like when the nerd in class raises their hand to say the teacher forgot to assign homework. Literally, yeah. What the fuck? Why, bro? I mean, obviously they were probably already aware of it, but still, people just fucking hate Hobshi now. This is also true. Gotta love CS2 devs casually changing the odds in their casino without any announcement outside of a random tweet. Guys, remember, if you open cases as soon as they release, the odds may be bugged in your favor. That's actually kinda true. Now, basically in the future, so many people are gonna tweak and be like, oh my god, new case, maybe the drop chances are glitched, I need to open, and then just lose their money. I see what you're doing, Valve. I'm not gonna lie, we've always known cases aren't predetermined. The skin you get from the case is determined as soon as you open the actual case, not at the end of the roll, not from the case when it was dropped. It's all just, you know, a script. So yeah, it makes sense that they can just change them, but I see what he means. It is kind of scummy. Well, CS2 did tweet, this has since been fixed. What does fixed mean? Oh my... Oh, we have two different scenarios here. Either Valve made the Fever case drop rates be like the Prisma and the Spectrum, which are the real actual odds they should be, or they made the odds like the Chroma case, which are still glitched, meaning rubies and sapphires will be much rarer than, for example, Prisma or Spectrum. I don't know. Most likely, they just fixed this one to be like Prisma and Spectrum, meaning Black Pearl is a 2%, Ruby and Sapphire is a 9%, and every other Doppler phase is 20%. And now for the final question, how will all of these gems unboxed now early on affect the price of these new gems and Dopplers overall a few months from now? I think it definitely won't affect the prices too much, especially not if we're looking a few months from now or even a year from now. But 100% I believe the gems, especially early on when these skins go tradable, are going to be way cheaper than they should be. You know, shit like a skeleton ruby should be super expensive. If the drop rates were as they should be, maybe just a handful of these would have even been unboxed by now, and obviously then they would sell for 10,000, maybe even more per knife. But now in the beginning, that's just not going to be the case because the supply is so big and the amount of people who want to buy these very early on, knowing well that they're gonna probably lose money, isn't gonna be enough demand to fulfill the whole supply we have now. Supply and demand, art of the deal. So yeah, there's not much more to say other than huge congratulations to the people who opened the fever case early on, because there's no punishment, they were just rewarded with insane drop chances, and this showcases basically, in my opinion, probably the craziest glitched case we've ever had in the history of CS. Now, I'm going to go actually cry because I didn't get a knife from the 700 fever cases that I opened. Whoopee!